Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. So today I want to talk about 3 mindset shifts that had to occur on my journey to, transforming my life from kind of being a scumbag. So actually, let me tell you this story real quick. I got a text from my buddy this morning. He goes, I was sitting on the toilet this morning, and I just randomly decided to Google your name in Reddit. So we were playing tennis yesterday, so I guess I was top of mind for him. But so he Googles me in Reddit, and there's a thread in there about fake gurus and these people are like, Anthony's a fake guru, all this stuff. And one of the things that's really funny about this is a while back, I Googled my name too. I saw the same Reddit thread and I was like, oh, cool. I'll go in there and I'll engage with these guys. I'll have a conversation and like, see how I can be helpful and set the record straight, answer any questions that they might have about my businesses and about my past and all this stuff. And they all took that to mean that I was guilty. They're like, only a guilty scammer would come in here and try to defend themselves. And I was like, what? I realized very quickly there's no winning that battle. So I quickly exited and deleted my comment. I was like, I'm done with that. I'm not going to play there. Anyways, my buddy, he texted me this morning after going through that Reddit thread, and he's been a very good friend. He's been my best friend actually for probably close to 15 years now. And he goes, it's so interesting because I've been there for pretty much the entire journey, and I can vouch that he's like, at least 95% of what you say is completely authentic and true. He's like, I can vouch for that. He's like, you were a scumbag until your early 30s. And he's like, you are the poster child of somebody who like turned not just their life around, but like who they are, turned yourself around. And he's like, you're the example that they should be looking for, and yet they don't see what's in front of them. But it was really funny because he's like, you were a scumbag into your 30s. I was like, yeah, it's one thing for me to say that. It's another thing to hear that from a friend who lived through it with you. And I was like, I was a scumbag. I sucked. And I mean, it's no surprise that I was struggling throughout my 20s and I was living in that van with all that debt. Like, that didn't just happen to me out of the blue, right? I earned that. And I want to share with you today 3 of the mindset shifts that occurred to go from being a really shitty human, being a scumbag as my best friend refers to me, going from living in a van, all that debt and everything, to being, maybe not much better, but a little bit better in the grand scheme of things. So the first mindset shift that had to occur is that you don't need more luck. You don't need more luck. You are already, if you're listening to this, if you are born in the 20th or the 21st century with your, fully functioning mind and body, and you have access to the technology that allows you to listen to this on the internet, you are already extraordinarily lucky. You don't need more luck. A lot of people believe you have to get lucky to make money. And the big mindset shift for me is that you are already one of the luckiest humans that was ever born. The fact that you were born in the 20th century United States, that I have access to a world where my inputs are linked to my outputs, the world that I have the freedom of expression, the world where I have the full control over my body, my mind, the world where I have an amazing family, amazing dad who was able to support me, teach me, help correct me throughout my life. Like, I am already extraordinarily lucky. I don't need more luck. I just need to do more with what I've already been given. Number 2 is it's all your fault. This is the biggest mindset shift, perhaps, is recognizing that everything that happens to you in your life, the where you are in this current moment is the result of every single decision that you've made up to this moment in your life. And yes, there are things that can happen that are truly outside of your control. The meteor can come out of the sky and it can strike you dead on the street. I get that. But when you take accountability, and you say, I could have been standing somewhere else. I didn't have to be there at that moment. I could have decided earlier in the day to not be there. I could have woken up earlier and it would have changed everything, right? Or I could have woken up later. Like, by saying, it might not be your fault, but it is your problem, and taking accountability, taking responsibility for finding the solution, I have found that to be immensely powerful, because it was very easy when I was in the back of that van to point fingers and to place blame. My fiance, she kicked me out. I was in all this debt because I was trying to live a lifestyle to support her, and like I could point fingers all the time, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It didn't change anything. Who was to blame or not didn't change my circumstances. And it wasn't until I started looking and saying, okay, this is my fault. I have to do something better. I have to fix this. Then I started to take the steps necessary that would change my life. So that's the next one, is that it is all your fault. Number 3, Do not do what you can, do what is required. Often we let ourselves off the hook by saying, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing everything I can. I did my best, right? Your best isn't enough. Do what's required. If you want to live a better life, if you want to build a better business, it is not enough just to do your best, because your best, by definition, is only good enough to get you to where you are currently. You need to be better. So don't use it as an excuse to say, I'm doing the best I can. No, do what is required. Get better. Increase your best. Don't just say, I did everything that was in my power and then leave it up from there. Do what's required. Stay, work the extra hours, keep chugging along in obscurity, be consistent, be diligent. That is the secret here. And it wasn't until I started shifting my mindset, because I used to believe that I worked very hard, whether I was working in a W-2 job where they would inevitably fire me because they would disagree about what their definition of hard work was. I was like, I'm doing everything that you've asked me to do. I'm doing my best. And they're like, it's still not good enough. I'm like, well, what else do you want from me? They're like, we want you to do what's required. And I couldn't do that. And it wasn't until I started to shift that mindset between just doing what you can versus doing what's required. And what's really interesting is I haven't consumed too much David Goggins content. He's not really my cup of tea personally, but he talks a lot about how, when you feel you're at your limit physically, realistically, you're only like 40% of the way there. Like mentally, we have so much more to give. And that's a pretty helpful mindset frame to be able to go and assess in your life, where do you think you're currently giving 100%? And then realize that there is somebody else out there already doing 10x that. And then realize there's probably somebody doing 10x what that person's doing. And this is the thing that's been mind-blowing for me, is that each level that I rise through the game and I get access to bigger, better, more competent, amazing, hardworking, brilliant people, is, holy crap, the difference from where I was to where I am now is like a 10x difference of effort. And this guy over here that I'm trying to get up to, it's another 10x increase of effort. And from that guy to the guy ahead of him, it's another 10x. And so you start to realize there's almost like an exponential amount of work that you can do above beyond your current capacity. So you're looking and saying, I'm doing the best that I can, when in reality, it's just a sliver of what's required in the grand scheme of things. And if you can just every day show up and keep increasing that capacity, then over time, you'll look back and be like, I can do 1,000 times more than I could when I was, 22. And that's where I'm at right now, is like the person that I am now fundamentally is different. The life that I lead now is different, because what I'm capable of is 1,000 times greater than what I could do when I was 35 versus when I was 30. And so when you keep that in mind, you just keep growing and doing everything that you can to increase your capacity so that you can do what's required, not just what you can. I think that's where things really start to turn around and life starts to get pretty good. So take these 3 mindset shifts. I want you to evaluate your life. I want you to sit down with this journal. I want you to meditate on these and ask yourself, am I using my lack of luck as an excuse? Am I pointing fingers at other people? Am I placing blame outside of myself? Am I abdicating control for my life to external circumstances, to somebody else? Am I giving up control? And then finally, am I doing what's required? Ask yourself that. Be honest. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.